Ladies and gentlemen, since Black Friday 2023, we've gotten 19 new artifacts, which you can see below there, from Silver Surfer to Beta Ray Bill. And that now puts us at a grand total of 169 nice artifacts in the game for our 160 whatever 4 characters. It's a long list. It's an absolutely massive list. I'm really thankful that I've kept it the way that it is and I haven't lost it or anything, because we've got a lot of work to do. Despite there only being 19 new artifacts, these artifacts and these characters that they, attach to have displaced the meta in large ways. So we're not only just going to be ranking these new 19 artifacts, but we also have to move around a bunch of artifacts, particularly ones that need to be downgraded in terms of value. So here we go. Let's start off with the ones that are just very easy to knock out of the park. Stuff like Kid Omega. It does give him a bunch of damage buffs, but in general, it's going to be... I would say it's decent, but right now, he's not good until he gets a uniform, obviously. Even someone like Katie, I would say Katie's is just low value. I wouldn't even call it decent, even though it gives her not 1 but 2 buffs. Wenwu's gives him 2 buffs. Again, these are just like damage buffs, buffs against villains, buffs against heroes, stuff like that, sort of generic stuff. Even like Lincoln Campbell, he's got a really good artifact. He's just not good. One that I actually mean to upgrade that I'm now looking at is Angel's. Angel has the Giga Dodge buff. And I always ranked the Giga Dodge buff artifacts at least decent, despite the characters for them not necessarily being good. You have Echo, you have Spider-Man, you have Miles Morales, those are like the big ones. But then you also have lesser characters. Like, people forget Angel has the 20% chance to just like Giga Dodge everything. That in itself is a good, solid artifact, despite him being a sort of like, bin tier character. But that pretty much does it for like the really bad ones. So as you can see, right, we only put 1 in low value when we put 2 in decent, and the rest are honestly pretty good. Like, we've gotten a lot of good artifacts lately, which is both good and bad. It's good because it increases the pool of artifacts that are available, and it makes the selectors more valuable for things like Black Friday and the anniversary coming up. But it's also worse because it means that, if you want to make the most out of these characters, you're going to want to get their artifacts. But we'll get some of the rest of them out of the way. Like, I think Havoc's is decent for sure because it gives him buffs against heroes and villains, but Havoc himself is just not a good enough character to crack beyond decent. But I think, Icons is good. I think, okay, Kahori's is the other one. Oh, Kahori also has the Giga Dodge, just like Angel. So yeah, I do think that is a very decent effect. She's just not a very strong character. But you know what? I think putting her around this area here, not Angel, but putting Kahori around this area, I think that makes sense. That sort of justifiably illustrates her abilities. She does, pretty decent damage for things like Conquest, but not quite there for like the upper echelons of PvP. Okay, now let's jump into the last update here. We had the seasonal uniforms for the seasonal artifacts for Coulson and Rogue. Notice that nothing from that What If Season 2 update had any impact, which is crazy. So the meta actually has only been shaken in the last 2 updates. But this is a fantastic support artifact. Coulson's artifact is fantastic support, arguably better than Nick Fury's, also like more useful, has more utility. I'm also, since I'm here, taking the chance to bump up Agent Venom's artifact to having more value because of Silver Surfer. Yes, it's really that good. It's pretty bananas. Rogue's is also very good. It's very, very good for ABX and ABL. And so we're going to put it here. And now that we're here in ABX, ABL, we might as well do our due diligence here. I'm going to be dropping Loki down quite a bit. I think his artifact is good, but Loki struggles from needing a Brilliant Rage, which is pretty damn annoying. I'm also going to be downgrading Black Panther from ABX, ABL to PvE. So that's, it is what it is. Same thing with Moon Knight. We're going to be downgrading him here. And we're also going to be downgrading Green Goblin, but he's going all the way down to decent because he's no longer the head honcho for ABX, and because he has no other value besides ABX, it's just an attack buff. It's honestly just an attack buff. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing special. Also getting rid of Storm and Star-Lord. So yeah, Storm gets downgraded to PvE, and Star-Lord also gets downgraded to PvE. I almost want to put that in decent, but hey, they gave it away to us for free, so that's pretty cool. Moving back now to the Madeline update. That was a massive update as far as shifting the meta. We're going to start first with Madeline. She got a amazing artifact here. I think you want to aim for the highest possible ranking that you can. I think she nestles in really well with Wolverine and Carnage because also it's an immortality artifact. but you want to give her as much time as possible, right? To just to be immortal before she dies, before she hits the final button. Rachel similarly got a revive artifact. Now this one is pretty much necessary at 3 or 4 stars if you want to make her work. Just like Cersei's, I would say she's just a better version of Cersei, so it just kind of makes sense to put them side by side. However, while we're here, we will say goodbye to Gore and Sunbird. We're going to put them in PvP here because I don't think they're really relevant. They're certainly better than some of these characters for PvP, but they're not much better, I would say. I would actually put Black Widow's a little bit higher. Hers is a little low. She also has the Giga Dodge, by the way. I would also put hers a little bit higher. And then I would put Gore's a little bit higher than that. Man, he kind of sucks, eh? Sabretooth kind of sucks. Okay, that seems like it makes sense. Yeah, that seems like it makes sense. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that there. Not really much has changed in this sort of like middle tier of PvP, except for the additions we just made with Gore and Sunbird. But yeah, they're just not really at the upper echelon of PvP, like the needed artifact sort of tier. Hopefully no one has spent a selector lately on, you know what? She doesn't even, at Magic, I'm looking at Magic. Buddy, you don't even deserve to be here. Genuinely, she doesn't deserve to be there. So yeah, we're going to put her down here. She's just a very inconsistent immortality character, unfortunately. Really not strong enough, despite also being a seasonal uniform. Very, very disappointing in that regard. Exodus, very disappointing tier 2, but very good artifact. I will say that. Very good artifact. I'm just going to put him at the bottom of PvP. It is a very good support artifact, so it technically should be in the support category. All right, I'll put it in the support category. It's just that no one's going to use him right now. No one's going to use him. It's up to 22% max HP for all mutants. It's a pretty nice artifact, don't get me wrong. But unlike Sunbird, he doesn't even have a tier 3 or a Transcendence, so I can't really give it much value. And then Hope. Hope is really interesting. So her artifact is actually ABX, ABL, and support. So very, very nice flexibility here for Hope. For those of you who forgot what her artifact does, it gives all mutant allies increased damage to villains and decreased damage from villains. So she has a very flexible artifact. Now, it is ABX, ABL, but I'm actually going to put it as a support because it is genuinely a strong artifact, right? All mutant allies get an increased damage to villains and decreased damage received from villains. That's good for both PvE and PvP. So I kind of want to highlight it more. She's good enough on her own for that one day of ABX. I don't really want to overshadow or make people feel like the primary, I would say the primary value of this artifact is not ABX. It is the support value. So that's why I'm putting it in this category as a support artifact. And then that about does it for that update besides Mystique. Mystique came in and dethroned Green Goblin as we saw there. So she gets added in for that one day of ABX. But yeah, it is just one day of ABX, so I wouldn't go crazy about that artifact. It does give her attack and dodge, but it's just kind of whatever. I don't know. I would even maybe, yeah, it's kind of whatever, I'll be honest. Actually, what I also wanted to do was I wanted to put Luna's artifact up here. I know some people are going to get pissed or triggered because Luna has one of the lamest artifacts in the game, but it's farmable. You can farm it for free from Dimension Rifts, and it actually does increase her damage. Now, it increases her cold damage by a factor of up to 50% of her cold resist. You can get some cold resist, like if you have a bad roll on your cards, but also you can get a bit of cold resist from swords. So there's a couple of ways to get just a little bit of cold resist. You're not going to get a ton of cold resist, but even if you have like 10%, that could be up to 5% extra cold damage. It's really bad. I'm not going to lie, it's really bad. But she also gets a percentage, right? She gets a multiplier based on her instinct. So just to give you guys an example of what that looks like, here, let me plug my phone in. I have a 4-star artifact on my Luna that I just farmed, right? I didn't gamble for this or anything. But if you go over to her artifact, so it gives her 30% of her cold damage cold resist gets converted to cold damage, and then an additional 0.3 of instinct. And it's that 0.3 that I really care about. As you can see here, her cold resist is only 20%. That's not very high. So 20% times 0.3 is only going to be 6. So that artifact is, by base, it's only giving her 6% cold damage. But then you go ahead and look at her instinct, and she has 36,000. Mine has 3,699, right? 3744. So you take 3744 and you multiply that by 0.003. That's another 11. So now you add 11.2 and 6, and you're almost at 20. You're at 17 and change. So this artifact that I farmed for free, completely for free, and I don't have any bad cards giving me tons of cold resist, but this 4-star artifact is giving me 17% cold resist. I mean, cold damage by converting cold resist and stuff like that. So that's very good. 17% cold damage is like, that's not a low amount. Like that's a significant amount. You will notice that. And what I want to point out is if you happen to get a 5-star or even a 6-star version, that 0.3% goes up to 0.4 or up to 0.5. So even if you had 0, let me just put it into perspective. Even if you had 0 cold resist, if you had a tier 4 Luna and you had a 6-star artifact, you would be at 3744 instinct. If you multiply that by 0.005, this artifact would be giving you 19% cold damage. Just the artifact. And it can go even higher than 19% if you start leveling up the artifact, because then it will give you extra instinct, right? Yeah. So that's like a noticeable amount. 20+% elemental damage. In Luna's case, cold damage is not a small amount. So I apologize for having it so low on the tier list. It definitely should have been here. I don't think it's like a game changer for her, but I do think it's something that will help her. So keep your eye on it. And who knows, if you have no one else to choose from a selector, hey, you could choose Luna. Wrapping it up here for the Annihilators update, we had Quasar, Quendel Vaughn, Homelander. He got a support artifact. It's very bad, but it is technically a support artifact, so you got to put it there. Icon gets a really good HP buff artifact that's very similar to Gilgamesh, and that is for PvP as well. Icon is not that great for PvP, but honestly, I would say she's better. She's almost as good as Spider-Gwen, and she's certainly better than Magic. So yeah, that deserves to be up here. So yeah, she gets extra HP and she gets a heal from her artifact. Very, very strong for PvP. And then Beta Ray Bill and Gladiator. Beta Ray Bill gets a decent artifact, but he's, you know, strictly PvE, so we can sort of put him here. But he's very good for PvE. I would say he probably deserves to be up here in terms of what his artifact gives and what he does. And then Gladiator, the new ABX ABL god, I would say his artifact probably deserves to put him somewhere around here. Gladiator just completely obliterates Black Panther and Moon Knight. So yeah, very strong. And the thing is, there's not a lot of combat heroes that are going to take his place. I want to point that out. As a native tier 2, it's going to take a massive power creep to really dethrone this guy. And then last but not least, we got the 2 new additions here, Ronin and Silver Surfer. Ronin's artifact is technically a support, so we will put it here. It's a little better than some of these, so I'll put it there. It just gives all allies attack. It does work for all allies, which is very, very nice. Very, very nice. So kind of Ronin to be so generous. But yeah, it is just attack. But just to put it into perspective, right? Ronin's artifact gives up to 20% attack. And then you have individual artifacts for specific characters, right? Unique to them, like Green Goblin, and it only gives him 24% attack. So if you had a 6-star Ronin artifact, that would basically be the same as having a 5-star Green Goblin artifact, but you don't need the Green Goblin artifact. You just need to put Ronin on the team. It's just like so. The artifacts that just give a flat attack bonus are so bad. I just want you guys to know that they're so bad. And then Silver Surfer, absolutely god tier. I would say needs 3 to 4-star artifact. I hesitate to take him out of this list. Like, I think he's very strong even without an artifact, and the artifact just increases his damage against heroes and villains, so it's not super powerful, but it is still strong. And we have other examples of this exact artifact on this list with Jean Grey, right? She has the exact same effect. We also know Kang has the exact same effect on his. I believe Blue Dragon has the same one, or maybe hers is just for villains. It's an increase and decrease to villains. But yeah, it's a very good artifact. I don't think it's as needed as the ones that come further in this list, so like earlier on this table. So it's not to say that Silver Surfer is worse than these characters, just that his artifact is less needed than these ones. And so being on the cusp here just means that it's almost not needed. That's how strong he is by himself for PvP. But yeah, I'm very curious to hear from you guys what you think. How's the tier list shaping up? Did I make any other mistakes, or do you disagree with the placement of any characters or their artifacts thus far? Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up in the comments down below. Smash the like button. It helps with the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.